What's up, everybody? Tyler Caldwell here. Michael Herklots here. We got Ferio, Tego, and I want to know, in your opinion, what is the perfect pairing with a cigar?
Well, you used a very specific word, which is pairing. And for me, pairing means that you are taking two things that are perfectly consumable alone, and you're putting them together in such a way that it creates a flavor and experience that is better together than it was with the two separate. And so it's very important to, first of all, have a great awareness of the first thing so you can better understand the second thing. I approach the thing I know less about and have less in inventory first. So let's say we're talking about a beverage.
Okay.
You can pair with anything. You can pair with coffee, you can pair with soft drinks, you can pair with juice, you can pair with anything in the world, but you have to understand the characteristics and behavior of the first thing. So let's use coffee as an example. If you have coffee here and it's black, then we're going to taste it and we're going to experience two things: temperature, which is hot, flavors that are bitter, and that skew darker. To counter that, you're going to want to find a cigar that will counter the temperature, which means that you probably want something larger format, slightly thicker ring gauge, and or longer in length. Therefore, the smoke is cooler when it hits your palate. And then from a flavor perspective, you either want to match the flavor, so it's coffee and coffee. So you could go something Nicaragua that shares a lot of the characteristics of coffee, Timeless Supreme, Ferio, Tego, Generoso, or you could counter it and fill in the blanks. Paint by numbers, so to speak, on the palate. And so if the coffee is hot and is skewing towards that darker, earthier, more savory flavors that coffee tends to have, you could counter that with creamier, nuttier, breadier type flavors. So coffee, cigar, hand in hand, no problem. When you get into alcohol, which is quite a common accompaniment, people tend to jump into the brown stuff: cognacs, scotches, bourbons, etc. The challenge with pairing high alcohol spirits with something as nuanced as smoke is the alcohol always wins. Now, that's not to say that smoking your favorite tobacco and drinking your favorite whiskey is not a great accompaniment. It makes for a great night.
Right.
But it's not necessarily pairing. And I say that because if you were to take a puff of your favorite Piper cigar and then you take a sip of your favorite whiskey, particularly neat, what you will find is the flavor of the whiskey dominates the palate and replaces the flavor and nuance of the tobacco. But if you approach it the opposite way, if you sip the whiskey first and allow it to coat your palate, you'll notice two things. First, the high alcohol spirit always presents as hot. And second, the high alcohol spirits will always dominate the palate, erase any flavor that was there before, and also create an astringent, dry effect on the palate because of the ferocity of the alcohol. After you've sipped the high alcohol spirit, then take a puff of your favorite cigar or pipe, and you will experience two incredible changes on your palate. First, you will feel an immediate reduction in temperature. And second, you will feel the restoration of saliva, which is crazy that the wet thing is hot and dries your mouth, and the thing that's burning cools the palate and restores saliva. But what that does is it allows the dominant thing to layer first. It allows the nuanced thing, the gas of the smoke, to layer above. And that allows the opportunity to pair your favorite Piper cigar with high alcohol spirits.
That's a format that I never personally thought of. When I think of a pairing, I've never put that much indulgence into it. Like, to me, it's, does this, whatever beverage I'm drinking with, does it meet with the pairing of the flavor that I get with this? And sometimes you get that perfect combination, but I've never thought of it like in that length there, and that's super important.
And it's important to think about pairing no different than you would in a great restaurant pair a main dish with a wine. The general rule of thumb that we have been brought up on is red meat, red wine, white meat, white wine. But that's not because of the color, it's because of the relationship of body and acid and tannin. Typically, red meat is fatty, and so you cut the savoriness of the fat with an older world that is drier and more tannic. White meats that are leaner tend to skew drier. And so then you would look for a more unctuous white wine that can help counter the slightly drier, more delicate white meat. But there's also exceptions, which is why you can have Pinot Noir with turkey, and you can have Chardonnay with a steak. The key is to make sure that you are creating the opportunity for dialogue, and that in a perfect pairing, if you think about wine and food, one does not necessarily dominate. They are designed to pair and create dialogue one after the other after the other. Right. And so, frankly, lower alcohol beverages, wines and beers, and non-alcoholic beverages are a much easier pairing because they are able to play on the same level and create more of those equal layers of dialogue from smoke to sip.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. What about your perspective of, let's say someone doesn't like the coffee and they don't drink alcohol. A big thing I find people is like sparkling water. What is the benefits of sparkling water with a cigar?
Sparkling water is an accompaniment, but it's not a pairing. What a non-flavored beverage allows is to help balance the condition of the palate without changing at all the flavor and the development of a blend. So it is a perfectly acceptable accompaniment, especially when you are trying to focus solely on the unique characteristics of the cigar itself. So enjoying a handmade premium cigar with a flavorless beverage really puts the spotlight on the cigar and allows it to be the star of the show.
All right, we're going to wrap this up here today. You guys watching at home, let us know what your favorite pairing is with some Ferio Tego cigars.